WILDR folks, Alicia here. This week's video is about 6 tips to help you reduce your risk of injury on snow this winter. Here at WILDR, we help people get ready for outdoor adventure sports of all kinds, and skiing has a special place in our heart. Now, before we jump in, let me tell you that most of these tips come from 2 research articles in particular, and I will link to them below if you'd like to read more. And of course, if you're interested in videos like this, I would love it if you would subscribe to our channel. Tip number 1 for reducing your injury risk this winter is simply to eat a good breakfast. Now, this might seem very simple, but in a study of 15 ski resorts looking specifically at the staff at those resorts, they found that your chance of getting injured was significantly lower if you had a breakfast that had at least 30 grams of carbohydrates before you went skiing. In fact, having those carbs meant a 40% reduction in injury risk for the day. Now, 30 grams of carbohydrates isn't incredibly difficult to get to. A serving of oatmeal, a couple pieces of toast can get you over that 30-gram mark. Now, the researchers hypothesized that this was because if you have stable levels of blood glucose, you have a faster reaction time, up to 1/3 of a second quicker at the test they were using. And so this could be a reason that your injury risk is reduced if you just have a little bit of breakfast. The second simple tip comes from the same journal article, and it talks specifically about getting 8 hours of sleep at night. So if you're going to do something difficult on the hill, think about getting a full night's sleep if possible. Reason being, your chance of getting injured is 1.7 times higher if you haven't gotten that 8 hours. So sleep hard before you send hard. Now, the next 3 tips are all about training in the gym to get ready for ski season. And in particular, these next 2 tips come from a study they did in Sweden with athletes between the age of 13 and 20. By putting in place a simple physical protocol, they were able to reduce their incidence of injury by 45%. So the next tip is implement jump training in your fitness routine. As with any kind of plyometric or jump training, you want to start simple with these. Jump up before you jump down, and do lots of those jumps on one leg. You're gonna get better at the skill of jumping, which is gonna translate into a healthier knee position when you are on your skis. Tip number 4 is to implement single leg training. Skiing is a bipedal sport. We are using 2 legs, but they are doing something very different depending on which turn you are executing. And so doing single leg training can help train those legs to work individually. They'll also help you notice if you have a strength difference between one leg and the other. ACL injuries tend to happen on the left side, which is for most people your less dominant side. So when you are doing that single leg training, think half-depth pistols, think box step-ups. Pay attention to any differences between your left and right side, and try to get that difference in between about 10% from left to right. Tip number 5 is to increase the strength of your lower body in general. It's been found that having more muscle mass and muscle strength in the lower body is going to reduce your risk of a knee injury on the hill, particularly for females, which is interesting. Don't shy away from adding some weight and adding some muscle mass to your lower body as you get ready for winter. And my final tip has to do with equipment. A lot of injuries are caused from a falling position with rotation, and the fact that we have these big long skis attached onto the end of our feet means that we are increasing the amount of torque through our knee when we take a fall. If your DINs are properly adjusted on your bindings, your ski is going to release when it needs to, and that will reduce the risk of a knee injury. Now, if you haven't adjusted your DIN setting before, you can take your skis into a shop and ask them to do it, or just listen to the manufacturer's instructions. I know there's a temptation to crank up the DINs so that your skis never come off. However, that safety mechanism is there for a reason, so you should probably use it. Now, remember, playing any kind of sport comes with risks, and that is true for skiing as well. But by following a couple of these tips, I hope you have a safe season while you enjoy yourself outside. Have a WILDR week, and we'll talk to you guys soon.